Hello, my lovelies. I'm Ginny O, the author with no last name, and I hope everybody had a good spring festival, whatever spring festival you celebrate. I celebrated with my family, and it was fun and tiring. So, today is a Ginny O Talks, where I talk about things in the creative community, and it's also a cookies and cocoa time with Ginny, because we are going to be talking about indie publishing, specifically indie publishing with Amazon KDP or Vellum and Wattpad, and what are they actually selling you? What are their real services versus what you think you're going to get? Now, this video is meant to be kind of an introduction to indie publishing if you've never indie published before, or maybe you've ventured into indie publishing and you're like, I don't know what I'm doing, I feel like I'm doing it wrong. This video is for you. So we'll go over some specific details about how Amazon works, and, what are they selling you, and Wattpad, and what are they selling you type of thing. So if you want to try to use these services, you will know what to expect, and think about how you go around it. So what's kind of bringing up this video is I did get a comment from somebody who was like, I really want to try this, and I guess I have a lot of research to do. And I was like, okay. And I've been wanting to do this one for a while as well, and there's been some kind of newsy stuff going on around Amazon and around Wattpad, or the lack of news around Wattpad, actually. So Amazon in the last quarter of 2022 and the first quarter of 2023 has laid off, or is going to lay off, 27,000 people. That's 27 with 3 zeros. And it has come out that a good portion of these layoffs, they're coming out of all departments, but the book department at Amazon is going to be hit. Now, the book department at Amazon covers their traditional publishing, the books they get through the traditional publishing services from the printer, those printers. It covers Amazon KDP and what used to be CreateSpace, and it also covers their new service, Amazon Vellum. KDP Vellum, or I don't know what you want to really call it. And so if you've ever tried to contact customer service through Amazon and had a hard time getting a hold of a real person, it's going to become worse. So just FYI. And then the other thing is the lack of news of what's going to happen with Simon & Schuster. Now, Simon & Schuster is owned by Viacom, and Viacom wants to shed Simon & Schuster because as a publisher, it's not making a profit, and companies are very big on profit. That's why Amazon is supposedly laying off 27,000 people. And so Penguin Random House, one of the others of the big quote-unquote 5, wanted to buy it. And the Department of Justice had to step in and go, no, that would make a monopoly and would be really, really bad for authors. As if the big 5 aren't already bad for authors, but I've made my opinion clear on that. And so we don't know what's going on with Simon & Schuster yet. I don't know if Viacom's made a decision, but Simon & Schuster is the brand partner for Wattpad. When one of Wattpad's paid for stories, like The Martian or After, get really, 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 really big, as in millions of views on Wattpad, and a traditional publishing company decides that, okay, it's gotten millions of views on Wattpad, that means we might actually be able to sell it in stores. You have to remember that traditional publishers are very, very risk adverse, And if you have published an indie book and they're going to end up getting the second rights to it, they want to make sure it's going to sell. So you are going to have to have this runaway bestseller for them to even consider it. Otherwise, they want the first rights. That means the first publishing of it, and they just don't want to, because they don't want to deal with having to figure out where they have to take it down everywhere else. Okay, so Simon & Schuster not turning a profit, Amazon not turning a profit, and they really want to turn a profit. And you, as an indie author, are going to want to turn a profit. So what is profit? All right. So profit is the money after expenses. Okay? Let us be very, very clear. Just because you publish a book and start making money off of it doesn't mean you're making a profit. That just means you're getting money back from all the expenses you've already put out into the book. Now, what are your expenses? Okay, so the expenses for when you're publishing a book and any other type of business. I have been an office manager for 2 companies and have worked on profit and loss statements, so please be aware I do know what I'm talking about, is that expenses are your labor, aka how much time did you put in writing and editing this book? Plus whatever else you do, depending on how much of a one-person show you are. I'm a one-person show, so almost everything labor done in my books has been done by me. Okay, nextly are things like services. If you are not artistic and you don't like using unsplash photos, you might hire out for somebody to create a cover for you, for your book. So cover is a service. Formatting the inside of your book, that's a service. Editing is a service. Now, if you are a first-time indie author, and this is your first book, let me say you've never finished even a fan fiction or anything like that, is it your first book? It is highly recommended by me, please, who has read a lot of indie books that I could not finish, to get a development editor. Hire a development editor. I know this is tough because it's, you're very invested in the story and the way you have it written, but please believe me, it's in your best interest, if you want to get glowing reviews about your story, to at least hire a development editor. You're also probably going to want a copy editor and a line editor, and that could be the same person. They're going to help you catch grammar mistakes and words you use too often, or if you're writing, you have a thought and then you have a second thought and then you go back to the first thought, they might help you catch that too, okay? But services, including things like advertisement, blog tours. If you do a book giveaway, that can be as part of a service or part of your expenses. Giving away a digital book doesn't mean that digital book is suddenly now the value of 0, okay? That digital book still has the monetary value of $2.99 or $3.99 or whatever you've priced it at. You're just giving it away, so now you have to take that as a loss, that is an expense, okay? And then you have, say, material costs. So a print-on-demand service like Amazon or Lulu.com, when you go to use them and they have, say, a hard copy or a paperback printing service, they're going to charge you for printing the book on paper and binding it up, and the cover, the paper and the printing and the ink for the cover, okay? That's material costs. Okay, and say you want to go out and you want to go and put up a table at a convention or something and try to sell books that way, try to get, so you're going to have the material costs of buying a table. You're going to have the material costs of buying a certain number of your books. You're going to want a tablecloth. You're probably going to want some sort of signage, and you're going to want business cards and bookmarks or stickers. That's material cost, and that goes into your expenses. Now, here's, without the last one here on the bottom, your profit after these expenses is gross profit. I know it's spelled the same way as gross, but it's gross. Okay, that's gross profit. Now you have one more expense, and that's taxes, because the government wants its share. So you have to take out the money that, coming in. You have to take out a certain percentage to give it to the government. And that means that would be your net profit. Okay. Now we just have to all be on the same page about what profit is, which is your money after expenses, and what those expenses are. So you want to make a profit, Amazon wants to make a profit, and Wattpad wants to make a profit. But here's the dirty little secret about Amazon and Wattpad. They aren't making money off of selling your books. Amazon and Wattpad, they aren't publishers. So when you have a publisher, the publisher is basically running through all these expenses that we just went over outside of writing the book. You're still writing the book, but they're supposed to have editors on staff and marketing team, and they're putting together the advertisements, and they're making sure it gets in front of reviewers, and but if you want to go on a tour and you want to take some books with you, that's still an expense on you. They don't pay for that most of the time. But as a publisher, they are pricing the books high enough to cover all those expenses, and then, and advertising expenses, and then they're giving you, the royalties off of it. There's a certain amount of money you get per purchase, and then, and then whatever left over is technically their profit that goes back into the big kiddie pool of, their money to publish books. And because they're not paying the authors a wage, they're just paying the authors the royalties. So, sure, they have a payroll of everybody there at the publishing company who is supposed to be editing and marketing and, making the covers and doing the formatting and everything for your books. But, they don't have the massive payroll of the author. They'll give the author an advance, but that advance is usually not enough to live off of. And Amazon and Wattpad, they're not even publishers. They're not giving you any sort of advance. They're not doing any sort of advertising in a way that is useful to you, that is getting your book in front of reviewers and front of book buyers at bookstores and stuff like that. They're not editing your books for you. They're not creating covers for you. Okay? And you're like, well, of course, that's because I'm an indie publisher and I'm the one publishing it and I have to do this. There are maybe other people out there who don't quite understand this, okay? So they're not publishers. Okay, they're not going to be, they don't have all these types of services ready for you, okay? But man, they're quite willing to sell you some of this stuff, like, oh, we'll sell you some this or that, or try to like make it sound like if you do this, you'll get a lot of engagement or whatever. Particularly Wattpad. Very, very skeevy Wattpad. Now, the second thing that Amazon and Wattpad aren't, and you think, well, Wattpad should be, is they aren't archives, okay? So, when you go to Amazon, or when you go to Wattpad, it is very, very difficult if you just have, like, a tag, or some sort of keyword that you're looking for, and you put that keyword in, you're not looking for a specific author, you're not looking for a specific book title, you just have, three OCs and a vibe and a dumpster, and you know, that's kind of the vibe you're looking for. You want something that's like Lost in Space but not Lost in Space. You want something like Star Wars but not Star Wars. You know, things like that. Okay, so you put something in there. You know, oh, you're looking for a werewolf story. I don't know. These are the types of things I look for. And so you just put in that tag, and all of a sudden you have a search function, and it's going to give you 1,500 stories. And you're going, but there's 18 million stories on Wattpad, and there's, you know, however many millions and millions of books on Amazon KDP that could, surely there's more than 1,500 of them that feature werewolves. Well, of course there are. Yes. But Amazon and Wattpad don't think it's worthwhile enough to have their search engine and their algorithms set up to make it so you can search past 2,000 stories, because who's going to search past than 2,000 stories? Hi. Me. especially when your search engine is not actually giving me werewolf books, but it's giving me journals with werewolves on the cover. You know, just no, it's not what I want. So Wattpad and Amazon are just flooded with all this content, but they have horrible search engines and they work on algorithms. That means it's very, very hard, unless you know specifically exactly what you want, to find a decent book. So let's say, and even if you do know what you want and you put in something in, a lot of times you scroll down and you're like, that first thing is not actually what you were searching for, and you're going, what's going on here? I'll explain. Let me explain. So what are Wattpad and Amazon KDP actually selling you? They're selling you author services. They're selling you basically ways to game the algorithm to get more eyes on your story. And if you are, say, a reader at Wattpad, because Wattpad is a little bit more archive-like. It's not an archive like AO3 or fanfiction.net is an archive. Just drives me crazy. It's more archive-like, so it will sell things to readers to, say, get rid of ads. So you go to Amazon, you use all their stuff to set up your book and the sale of your book, and you know, this is my cover, here's the inside of it, here's, you know, I'm gonna write my little back blurb and sales pitch into that area, and I'm going to use like a keyword finder for something else, and you know, you put it up there and you're like, now what? Well, now what is Amazon wanting to sell you ad clicks. So little ad slots. So you go to the Amazon search function, you put it in, and you start scrolling down, and you're going to start to notice that 6 of the 20 different items that you get on that page, 6 of them are ads. And authors have paid money to go, you know, of cents per click to get their ads on that page for those keywords, for the, you know, for the demo and age group of the reader, you know, to get them higher up on the page. Because you, as a search person, you are going to notice the first search result, the middle search result, and the end search result. And you're like, well, that's only 3, and there's still like 3 more in there. Yeah, well, it's just if one ad is best, 5 ads are are better. That's kind of what it feels like. So on Wattpad, when they're doing these paid story type of things, even if you are doing a paid story on Wattpad, you know, you've written 2 things for them, and you know, they notice that you get decent engagement or whatever, so you submit your 3rd book, and you know, they're like, oh, well, now you can put that into Wattpad paid. Putting yourself into Wattpad paid games the algorithm type of thing, and they're also going to try to sell you things like or you try to offer you these services of talk with Wattpad editors so that you can figure out how to write to market better, you know, and it becomes kind of like this cycle of, instead of being like a publisher and making money off of the books they're actually selling, they're making money off of selling you the ability to advertise your book on the platform you're already on. They have created a problem to sell you the solution. Alright? So if you, and you're like, well, how do, you know, if there's this algorithm specifically on, say, Amazon or Wattpad, how am I going, even without advertising, how am I going to keep my, you know, name and my book up there in people's eyes, okay? So if you go to my website or you go to my Amazon, you're going to notice that I have not published anything in several years. And, you know, I am trying to work on the 3rd one for this one. I promise you, I am trying. And there's a reason for that. I have on my computer at least 4 finished books. But because with Amazon, and I think you need to do this before you even start trying to buy ad sales, you have to publish at a certain rate to, you know, keep your name and your books up on top of the, you know, just published things. And the problem is, now that they're doing pre-publishing sales, like pre-sales stuff, you have people who are putting their books up a year in advance, and they're putting out 3 or 4 books a year. So they're publishing every 3 months, and so they're going to have the, you know, the book for next year up as a pre-sale for 3 months. So that means that pushes your book that has, you know, you're just about to publish, that pushes your book down the list, unless you also are like, I'm going to put up a publishing date a year in advance and have all your books. People really try to game this system, okay? There's the publishing market stuff where you choose 3 popular keywords and crank it out and publish that. There's the, you know, there's the putting it into the wrong category tricks. There's a lot of scams and a lot of different ways that they try to scam both the algorithms and the page turning of Kindle Unlimited, because they're trying to make a quick buck, and writing books and publishing is not about making a quick buck. And if you try to make it about making a quick buck, you're just going to be severely disappointed if you're trying to be honest. Okay, so the reason why I have not been publishing books, and I have 4 books sitting here as backlog or whatever, is because I need to finish the entire series, I feel, so that when I publish them, I can publish them, you know, enough to the algorithm so that I can start getting my name up there at the top of these, you know, specific categories or whatever every 3 months. So maybe people will start seeing them and will start buying them, instead of just automatically being dogpiled to the bottom of the list, where you won't turn up in a search for a generic keyword unless somebody knows specifically your name and the title of your book. I mean, my books are in the low or the high millions, 1.7 million in X category, and I'm just like, why do you have 1.7 million plus of those books anyway? Who is? Wow. Yeah. That's a little flooded, a little overly much. So if you are getting into this, you have to be aware that there is so much content coming in that Amazon doesn't, and Wattpad don't even bother to try to make a profit off of any of it. Instead, they make a profit off of selling to these authors, ad sales. Basically, that's what they make their profit off of. You are already putting out a ton of expenses into, as an indie author, in, getting your book cover done and formatting the inside and getting the editing. And that's all on you. And, you're using Amazon, a distributor, and then Amazon turns around and it's like, so yeah, if you really, really want to sell books, you have to publish them every 3 months, and you need to, you need to publish them every 3 months, and you need to buy ad sales from us so that we'll put them in the sponsored sections of the search function. But we're not going to tell you how keywords work, and we're going to let other people abuse keywords, and we're not going to even check to make sure the categories that everybody who is independently publishing are even, upstanding incorrect and matching other publisher categories. So you have to do your due diligence, but Amazon won't do their due diligence. I don't know what to tell you. And in Wattpad, it's even worse. So you have people publishing all over the world at all types of day. So by the time you publish something, it can be out of that 1,500 search engines on new, within 10 minutes. So they're like, oh, well, you need to publish at different times of day, and, every day of the week. I published a book on Royal Road. I published my first book on Royal Road, 1 chapter at a time, and I got an email telling me, and I was putting up a chapter a week because Royal Road only has 30,000 to 40,000 books on it. I mean, that's not a lot, especially if you're looking for, you're narrowing it down by fantasy and werewolves and whatever. If you start narrowing down tags like that, you're going to shrink, how many books are coming up. So I got a review that said you should publish twice a week, and I'm just staring at it going, do you people not get how painful this is and how fast you're going to burn out if you don't have a massive backlog and you're publishing a chapter twice a week? Or even publishing a chapter once a week can lead to massive burnout if you're not done. I mean, this whole book was done before I published it on there, and and this is not even getting into the whole thing of different reader expectations on Wattpad versus Amazon versus Royal Road or even Reddit, okay? Every single section, depending on where you're posting things, are going to have different expectations of how the story plays out and what they consider and don't consider a book, okay? So, if you want to write self-contained books, don't publish to Royal Road. I don't even think that you should publish to Wattpad, but that's just besides the point. So, once again, if you are curious about more details with, pictures and words, there is a free PDF on my website about how to succeed of not playing the algorithm game. And it goes over in detail archives versus algorithms and search engines and, that type of thing. And it's just, if you're an independent author, just be aware how companies like Amazon and Wattpad are exploiting your labor to make a profit off of you. And I'm not going to try to discourage you from, publishing your books. Go ahead. I really, publish your books. Please make sure you get an editor and all that. But go ahead and publish your books if you want to get them out there. But you need to have a very in your head clear of what you want for success before you start trying to figure out how to manipulate or game these systems at Amazon KDP or at Wattpad to gain the type of success you want. Okay, so if you're just putting something together for you and your friends and your family, go to lulu.com and use the print-on-demand services there, because they are so much nicer than Amazon. I just have the paperbacks as an experiment. I don't make a lot of money off of them. I only make 25 cents because to make $2.50 I'd have to double or triple their price, and that would also be international. So I don't really want to do that. I don't feel like this book binding and this book, I mean, the paper is nice, but the binding is not, and the cover stock is not. I mean, I don't feel like this is worth $25, and I'm not going to charge you $25 for something I don't feel is worth $25. And I mean, it might be worth maybe 15, but even then, that's pushing it in my opinion. So, I just, you know, kind of be aware of that. Be aware of what's happening. I might need to go in and like up the price by $1 because cost of paper is gonna. I might be charging you more. But just be aware of how companies are making a profit and how you can, need to make a profit. What profit actually is with these services. I hope this helps someone. Like I said, once again, free PDF, Ginny, 0.wordpress.com/books, down at the bottom. There's 3 of them. 3, print them off, have fun with them. 3, yeah, there we go. Let's at least show off my rings. And, take care of yourselves, my lovelies. Stay safe. Good luck with publishing if you decide to publish through Amazon and, or through Wattpad. And bless, and I will see you in the next video.